Hello there friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Films. My name is Alan. The Book of Boba Fett is out and the individual we see on the screen has gone through quite a lot. We are all a sum of the experiences we go through in life, and oftentimes in society, some of the most capable people have also gone through the most hardship, suffering, and trauma. Boba Fett in his older age is a prime example of this. His body bears very visible scars and his gait carries a weight that wasn't there before. And so today we'll be taking a look at the three major tragedies that really shaped who Boba Fett was as a person and who he'll be in this new TV series. When Boba Fett was born, he was codenamed Alpha. He was born as a pure genetic copy of Jango Fett in 32 BBY shortly after the Battle of Naboo. Fellow Mandalorian and co-worker in the Clone Trooper training program, Cal Scarada, recalled seeing Jango Fett being mesmerized by the baby Boba as he held him in his hands in those first few days. Jango Fett had a look of unconditional love and fatherhood on his face, with a dash of narcissism, I imagine. Now, it's true that Jango Fett would place Boba Fett in many dangerous situations. You and I might judge him as an irresponsible father, but we have to pause for a second to understand the situation he's living in here. You see, for Jango, this wasn't reckless behavior or bad parenting, it was essential parenting. First of all, he's a Mandalorian, and he was a foundling, an orphan child picked up from the battlefield. His own mentor and father figure, Yason Muriel, had rescued Jango shortly after his parents were murdered by Death Watch. Days later, Jango Fett would take part in an ambush and kill his first human being. Soon after, Jango would join Yason Muriel as a fighter within the true Mandalorian faction. And so Jango Fett was just putting Boba Fett through the same type of experiences that he went through as a child, albeit with a little bit more guidance and safety measures involved. Basically, Jango Fett was always there to watch out for him. Jango Fett, like any proud father, would want his son to follow in his footsteps, and he better than anyone understood that weakness could be as deadly as a blaster shot to the dome. Boba Fett would get his first few kills while on the job with his father. When the two bounty hunters, Rin and Tiver, betrayed the Fetts during a routine training mission, Boba was able to gun down both individuals after they grossly underestimated him. Boba even let the third bounty hunter, Nelda, leave with his life so that he could tell other individuals in the industry what had happened here. Boba wanted to start building his own legacy. This incident made Jango extremely proud of his young boy. And while I'm sure Jango tried to limit his coddling and professions of love to Boba Fett, I'm sure that Boba Fett was the most important thing in Jango's world. And the same was definitely true going the other way. And so when Boba Fett watched his father from the stands at Petronaka Arena get his head cut off by Mace Windu, it was a traumatic, life-changing event for the 10-year-old Boba, the first major event that would shape his personality. If it weren't for all of that training that Jango Fett had given Boba Fett, he might have just gotten swept up in all of the chaos that followed the battle at Petronaki Arena. But Boba Fett knew exactly what to do. He didn't panic. He grabbed his father's helmet and a book of instructions his father left behind him, which might be why the TV series is called The Book of Boba Fett. He would then fly away from Geonosis on the Slave One and begin plotting his revenge against Mace Windu. Now, we all deal with death of a parent in our own way. 1% of the human population is so overcome by this type of event that they're usually unable to carry on with their lives. But that doesn't mean the rest of us just skip that mental crisis. Most of us are affected in one way or another. In the case of Boba, this young boy had just lost his only parent and was now an orphan. Despite being well trained and a lot more mature than kids his age, he was still a child and must have felt afraid and alone. But the emotion that young Boba Fett would cling on to the most was rage and a desire for revenge. It would be this feeling that would make him forget the fresh wound that was the loss of his father. Soon after, he would link up with his father's old bounty hunting colleagues Aurra Sing and Bossk. In their company, Boba Fett found some normalcy once again. He was getting revenge for his father's death, and he was hanging out with people he believed cared about him. More importantly, he wasn't alone. But hunting Mace Windu wouldn't be a very easy thing, and soon Boba Fett realized that he was way over his head. This wasn't the same as hunting bounties with his father. Boba is confronted by the ruthlessness of the other adult bounty hunters. The first assassination plot involved killing Mace Windu while he was in transit on a Venator-class Star Destroyer. When that plan goes awry, Boba Fett is confronted with the choice of killing several clones who looked like him and his father. At this point in time, Boba Fett had not yet developed the killer instinct. All of his previous kills had been done when his life was threatened. But to kill an unarmed individual who does not threaten you, or to kill some individual you've captured, is a completely different story. Despite the tough training Jango had given Boba Fett, the young boy still had a relatively sheltered life and had never really been in true danger. He hadn't really reached the stage where he had to make these very difficult life or death choices. Boba gets caught by one of the Jedi in the middle of a scuffle, and he cries out for Aurra Sing to help him, but she just leaves him behind. Boba Fett looks defeated, and he's once again abandoned by a parental figure he once trusted. And I believe it's in this moment that Boba Fett hardens and becomes an adult. Boba Fett would spend some time in prison for his crimes against the Republic. Once he left, he once again would assemble a bounty hunting team, but this time he wasn't focused on some childish desire for revenge. Instead, he was just focused on making money. He had gone to the other extreme after suffering so much trauma as a child. He no longer had a code, he no longer pined for a mother or a father, he didn't trust anyone. Now all he was focused on was making coin and surviving. Now, Boba Fett didn't take many jobs, but when he did take a job, he would devote himself completely to it. He had a lot of pride in his work, and he would strive to be the best at what he did. This was probably a mentality passed down to Boba from Jango Fett, and Jango Fett had probably learned it as a member of the True Mandalorians from Yeaster Mareel. The result was that Boba Fett not only became the most feared bounty hunter in the galaxy, he also became one of the most reliable, which is why eventually he narrowed down his jobs to two very powerful employers, Jabba the Hutt and Darth Vader. But when Boba Fett fell into that Sarlacc pit, everything changed once again. You see, prior to this, Boba Fett had pretty much reached his peak in his career. He didn't have any more things he needed to accomplish. In many ways, Boba Fett had just replaced Jango Fett. After his death, he would become the best Mandalorian bounty hunter in the galaxy.
Nice shot. I was aiming for the other one.
He would attract the most important clients and get paid the most for bringing in bounties. In order to do this, all Boba Fett had to do was to maintain a reputation of being brutal and efficient. At a certain point when Boba Fett was an adult, that would become very easy for him to do, and Boba Fett didn't really have any other larger dreams or desires. Until he got trapped for God knows how long in the maw of that terrifying beast. The experience would have been very gruesome. The Sarlaccs were known to hook into their prey and slowly digest their bodies over the course of 100 years. At the same time, the Sarlacc jacked into the nervous system and bloodstream of their victims to sustain their lives way beyond their life cycle. They would also torture them mentally during this period of time. The Sarlaccs would also absorb the minds of every victim it came across, but the process was two ways. Boba Fett would also learn quite a lot from the Sarlacc in all of the minds of its former victims. Boba Fett probably spent a lot of time going over what had happened to him and how he got there in the first place. He would come to the conclusion that in his rush to kill Luke Skywalker, he never really saw Han Solo swinging for his jetpack. Despite all of his training, despite all of his discipline, this incident taught him that in chaos anything could happen. Even a very well-prepared and skilled individual like him could be defeated. It's this revelation that made Boba Fett realize that he no longer wanted to be hired muscle. Now, all he really wants to do is to become a leader and boss. Now, in the limited time we do see him after the Sarlacc pit, Boba Fett has changed greatly in how he approaches other people. He's much more patient, much more willing to develop long-lasting bonds and agreements with individuals. Heck, he even saves Fennec Shand from a very gruesome injury, something that he might not have done prior to his Sarlacc incident. The reason that Boba Fett does this is because he recognizes that he needs allies and friends in order to survive this crazy galaxy. And so Boba Fett would choose individuals like Din Djarin and Fennec Shand to watch his back because he knew they were honorable and that they were relatively good people and that he would survive longer with them in his corner rather than having someone like Aurra Sing or Boss watching his back. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. And as usual, my name is Alan, reminding you that life is a movie and you are the protagonist.